Most nonprofits don't run on just one system. You might be collecting donations in a platform like Fundraise Up, running events through Eventbrite, hosting webinars in Zoom, and managing finances in QuickBooks. The problem is all of that supporter activity ends up scattered across different tools, which makes it really hard to see a full picture of how someone is engaging with your organisation. Hi, I'm Charlie from Nonprofit Tech Shop. In this video, we're going to show you how you can connect those tools to HubSpot and turn it into a single source of truth for your supporter data. You'll see how integrations bring information from different platforms into HubSpot so your teams can see donations, event participation, and engagement history all in one place, without constantly jumping between platforms.
Okay, so when you want to make HubSpot your single source of truth amid all of your different tech tools, maybe you've got Eventbrite for some of your online events, maybe you've got something like Zoom to host webinars or to have meetings, maybe you have QuickBooks, maybe you have many others, maybe you're using Fundraise Up to collect donations. These are called integrations. You can integrate them with HubSpot to make HubSpot your single source of truth. I'm going to show you how that looks in a contact record, a person, a constituent, a supporter, but that human that you're working with. I'm going to show you that here in just a minute. But first, I want to show you a couple other things. Here in your settings in HubSpot, by the way, you get here by clicking the settings wheel up here in the top dark navigation, that skinny bar up top there. And it takes you here to your settings. I'm looking at my general settings here. If I scroll a little bit, on the left-hand side under account management, we have integrations. Again, that's what we're looking at. I'm going to look at our connected apps, but there's also the legacy apps if you have an older, some older apps in there. But generally, you're going to click on connected apps. And here are the apps that you may have connected in your portal. Now, these obviously are ours, so we have lots. But you can see here we have a lot of different things we can connect. Right? HubSpot uses something called Bevy for their online events. We've got DocuSign. We've got Eventbrite, Facebook Messenger, Fundraise Up. We've got a lot of stuff in here. Google Ads, Google Calendar. So here's what we have connected. Now we also have a tab here for overview. So I can go here and see how many total apps are installed. 70 apps installed in our portal here. 5 of them require action. Probably they've been disconnected or something like that. If there are upgrades, we can see that here. Here's the app log, when they were connected, by whom. We can filter these by the activities. I want to know what was uninstalled and by whom. I want to see who's working in it. If I want to know how much John Kenneth has connected, I can go look at all of their apps. So that's how we can look through this. Now, obviously, HubSpot also was asking us to stay educated, which is great. We love always be educating. So here's the Learn More with HubSpot Academy there. So and then the total apps here, and then notifications we have here, okay? Okay, now, in addition to these apps that we have, there is an entire marketplace for integrations. And I use integrations and apps as the same thing, interchangeably. But here are the different apps or integrations we can look at. You can see what's trending, you can see new arrivals, and then they start to break it down into things like turn more leads into customers. Now, for most nonprofits, that means nothing, but it might be turn more contacts into supporters, or turn more people into constituents, or more constituents into donors, whatever you want to see there. But there's the things that we can do. We can also just simply search. So for instance, I mentioned QuickBooks. If you use QuickBooks, here we go. And I just can hit enter and it shows me all the QuickBooks results. There are lots out there. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind here. When it says by HubSpot, that means that HubSpot built it. Someone there built it. That's great. We want that because they tend to know their system better and build really good integrations. If it's third party, there's nothing wrong with that, but we may not know who built it. We might be tied to them in some way. There might be an extra cost potentially. So third party, just be aware of that. But when it says HubSpot, it has a little sprocket here typically. That means it's HubSpot certified or HubSpot built it, okay? Now let's say here, for instance, QuickBooks Online, just this general one here. 13,000 installs. This looks like a good one. I click there. And here's what that looks like right now. We have an overview. We have the basics right here in the top left. We have the requirements here in the bottom left. It tells me that it is compatible with my HubSpot plan that I have. What permissions are required? None. Great. On the right-hand side here, again, as I scroll, here's the features. So it's telling me how this all works. I scroll on here. Here's the functionality. It's telling me how the data moves between the source and HubSpot. So customers in QuickBooks move data to contacts in HubSpot and back. So it's bi-directional sync here. Same with invoices and products. QuickBooks online data goes into HubSpot's Data Studio. It's not pushing back into QuickBooks. So there's something to be aware of. You look at this here to see, oh, this is moving data from my system into HubSpot, but not back. That might be really important. Or it might be that you wanted to move it both ways. So there's that. Here's the reviews, right? Total reviews. Now, I will say this as a longtime HubSpot user, the reviews, it's a great place to gather some data, but it's not the end all be all. I typically look at 4-star, 3-star, 2-star reviews to see what's right or wrong about them. The 1-star reviews I have found often tend to just be mad that something didn't work they thought was specific. That might come down to your research and saying, oh, I knew this wouldn't do that even though I wanted it to. Well, if they say in their documentation it doesn't work, it's not going to work. So just something to keep in mind. But I do look at the 2, 3, and 4-star reviews and some of the 5s to see what's working well, what's not, right? It says here, basic invoice sync works. We're using a one-way sync. Sync is reliable, but it cannot send invoice to customer out of QuickBooks. Okay, that might be a very big deal that you need, so you know that maybe we shouldn't do that, or look more into it to see if there's a different way to do it. So anyway, there's reviews for you. Here's pricing, and you can look at that. Here's more information if you need that. All right. And then when you're ready, you just click install and it walks you through. So that's the installation. Okay. Now let's see what this means when we have integrations working together. If I go over to my HubSpot and bring up a contact, here's a contact. On the left-hand panel is the about information. There's some cards here to look at. The middle shows our overview, our activities, and then possibly some intelligence. Again, this is all customizable. The right-hand side shows us more information, associated objects. So for instance, we use households. This person, Sonia, is part of this household here, DM test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do you think that's a test household? I think so. The household donations and this kind of stuff. So other things within HubSpot are associated here to this contact. But here for the contact level, on the left-hand side, I have this card right here that says about this person. I can actually hide that and see, oh, look, I've got donations. Now, here's the cool thing. With the integrations, I've got FRU is Fundraise Up. That's what we're using for those properties there. So we have properties that show us from Fundraise Up, average donation amount. We've got one that says, are they part of the fiscal year 2024? And then probably others from there. Total donations, total number of donations. These are all properties that come from Fundraise Up, okay? We got member information here. I can tell you that these two right here, registered event and event date, those are from Eventbrite. So when I have the Eventbrite integration put in here, I can show when they registered and what event did they register for. Okay, so if I'm holding a lot of online, classes, webinars, the other events, I can see that information here right in HubSpot. So I don't have to necessarily leave HubSpot in order to see how they're interacting with me. So this is how these integrations can push data into HubSpot. Once it's there, we can create, properties in order to see the information the ways we want. So for instance, again, total donations, total number of donations, those are things that we can create in HubSpot to create roll-up or calculated properties. So integrations can be very powerful when you want to bring all your information into HubSpot. Because from here, not only can we see these on the contact level or the household level or the donation levels, whatever, the volunteer hours, this kind of stuff, we can build reports around these right in HubSpot. So our team doesn't need to leave HubSpot to go to spreadsheets or the disconnected apps and the kind of thing. So this is how we manage all of our integrations, our connected apps in HubSpot. Thanks for watching.
So that was a quick look at how integrations can turn HubSpot into a single source of truth for your organization. Instead of supported data living across disconnected systems, integrations allow that information to flow into HubSpot so your team can see a full history of how someone interacts with your mission, from event registrations to donations and beyond. That unified view makes it much easier to build reports, personalize outreach, and make better decisions based on real supporter activity. If you're exploring how to connect your existing tools with HubSpot, we'd be happy to help. Our team works with nonprofits to design integrations and CRM setups that actually fit the way their organisation operates. And if you're a nonprofit using or considering HubSpot, be sure to check out our nonprofit HubSpot user group where nonprofit teams share practical examples of how they're using HubSpot to grow their impact.